Marvin Pete Walker Jr. was a teenager when these crimes occurred. He is now 62 years old and has spent his entire adult life in San Quentin State Prison. Over the many decades on death row, Mr. Walker has earned the trust and respect of all those he interacts with, including prison officials. At this time, Mr. Walker has 2 promises of housing, as well as an excellent job offer that includes training. There is no doubt that Mr. Walker's life defines a classic story of redemption. It is now time for him to be released. Today, with open arms, Mr. Walker's friends and supporters, and most importantly, his entire family, eagerly await his return. Please listen to their words.
We're at my niece Vernicia's house. I want to say 4 generations, but I'm probably skipping one. I have great-grands, so 5 generations are here today. They all got a chance to hear his voice. That's awesome, because they normally just hear, well, this is what Marvin said and this is what Marvin wants. But today they got to hear him say it for himself.
Everybody that you see it right now, those are the people that I'm looking forward to come home to.
He's influenced me a lot. Since I've started high school, I've been with my grandma, and he's just getting on the phone, talking to him. He's just gave me advice like life lessons, educational lessons, just whatever you do, do it is best to make you happy. Don't do it for others.
As a niece, it's been, another father figure, someone that I could trust and lean on, and he could do that in return.
As a young woman in this family, he's definitely impacted me. Growing up, I always would hear stories about him, and I talked to him on the phone. He always just encouraged me to stay in school, continue doing what I was doing. I know that he made an impact in my life, and I can see the way he talks to these kids now. It's the same way it was when I was a kid. They hear us talking about him, they hear us talking to him, they hear about our visits with him, and everybody's just excited to meet him.
They see me on death row. They see me locked in this cage all this time. But I constantly with a positive message. You live by motto, and you let other people see that motto, and eventually they'll come around to it.
We love our family, and we are determined. Marvin, when I say we, I include him in that, because even from the prison, he reaches out and he says some of the same things that we were taught. And he's still empowering them to be the best that they can be. Family to us is the most important element in our environment.
In 1997, San Francisco State University professor Jennifer Beach met Marvin through a mutual friend. Over the past 25 years, Jennifer and Marvin have developed a close, familial relationship that continues to this day.
Marvin and I are very close family friends at this point. So I've been bringing my daughter to visit him since she was a newborn. And I was a young mother when I started visiting him, and I just brought her everywhere with me. So now she's 24 and she visits him, and they're very close.
Shaka has taught me patience and hope and resilience and compassion.
Marvin Walker was born in 1959 and was raised in Northern California. Marvin had 10 siblings. And growing up, the family faced tremendous hardships due to extreme poverty, racism, instability, and loss.
I got to meet Marvin Walker back in the late 1980s. I think it was 1988 or 1989. When I was appointed by then Chief Justice Malcolm Lucas of the California Supreme Court to take on his post-conviction representation. But we spent a lot of our relationship not just on the legal issues over the years, but on personal issues. His family, my family, his nieces and nephews, his sister. He cared about me when I had some health issues. So it's that kind of a relationship, and I know I have a legal role for him, and it's an important one, but my feeling about him as a person transcends all of that, and I feel very lucky to have known him for all these years.
My name is Dr. Terry Coopers. I have an MD degree and an MSP degree. I'm a professor at the Wright Institute in Berkeley. I've practiced psychiatry and community psychiatry all of my adult life. Mr. Walker is a remarkable human being. He is very centered, he's very authentic, he's very wise, and that comes across. In terms of the psychiatric part of my examination, I didn't find any pathology. He's definitely not malingering, which means making up or exaggerating symptoms for secondary gain. There's no evidence, absolutely no evidence, quite the opposite. He's quite authentic and forthcoming. I did not find any signs of antisocial personality disorder. What I found was a very authentic human being who I was actually inspired by.
When my father left, it put all on my mom. And my mom, she did the best she could to provide for us, but it was hard. As time went on, as I got older, my stealing became, I started burglarizing homes, putting money in her pocket, in a purse that she didn't know that I was doing. And it just escalated from there.
And Mr. Walker has a lot of past trauma. He was beaten badly by his father. And he saw his sister murdered. And that caused him a lot of emotional reactions. I believe, in retrospect, when he was a juvenile, that played into his committing criminal acts. He's very remorseful about the crimes he committed. He has rehabilitated himself. On death row, there's not much in the way of rehabilitation programs, but he has developed his own program through reading, through self-study, through talking to people who are peaceful, positive influences.
But one thing that has always struck me about him, I think he's had almost no disciplinary issues at all, and someone can check that record, but was not a gang member on the row. I observed that people respected him, owned the respect in the room. That just isn't his personality.
I spent 11 years at San Quentin prison with Marvin. And I was sitting in prison, steeped in some anger about what was actually happening to me. This was somebody that was able to counsel me about not letting my anger actually, doing stuff that certainly wouldn't have been helpful for me in prison. I mean, this is somebody that counsels young people at every opportunity he gets, and it's been somebody that I didn't certainly reach out to, because part of the work that I've been doing since I've been home is trying to counsel young people about not getting into trouble, and this is certainly somebody that I have relied on to, hear from somebody that's actually going through what he's actually going through. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference when you have people like him, talking to young people about why they shouldn't be getting in trouble.
I've been able to be without disciplinary action because who I strive to be. It was not about build a reputation. It was about being human, bringing the human side to a bad situation. I stayed away from gangs.
My relationship with Marvin, once he went to jail, as far as loving him and being there for him, checking on him and visiting him, I did that as often as I could. He became more the father figure than the uncle for my kids. I got some of the best conversations and best advice in those places from that brother of mine that I ever got. He reached out beyond those walls and he touched every single one of our lives.
He has gained a great deal of perspective about what his life has been about, what purpose he's been able to find in. I think he is kind of seen as a mentor to some of the younger guys on the row.
The amount of work that it takes to maintain this relationship with me, to be my uncle, it's not passive, right? And I think there's not a word that expresses how active it is and how much work he has to do to be present in my life and to take care of me.
Mr. Walker today is a totally different person than the juvenile, than the teenager who got into trouble with crime. And by the way, he did not get into much trouble. He never did time as a juvenile. He never did time as an adult prior to this case.
My support for my brother's successful reentry, I'm already starting to point him to places that can help. Just doing things like that to make sure that he not only has a head up, but he's on the right track. I don't care where he settles at. I plan on continue doing that, to do whatever I can do to make sure that he has what he needs.
If he's released at some point, and of course I hope he will be. I mean, I've got contacts in the legal community that I can put him in touch with, other attorneys who can use someone like him as a reference point, a touch point for their clients, judges, mediators, other people who can maybe get him involved in some of the issues that they're facing in their courtrooms and the things that they do. So I would see myself trying to help him at that level.
In addition to Mr. Walker's wide support system, he has already secured employment through the Redwood Justice Center and housing at the Freedom House upon his release.
We are looking forward to Shaka working for our organization. He's going to work for us part-time, also get training in technology. Knowing him, we know that he's going to be a big asset. He has a lot of skills, communication skills. That's part of why we're offering him the job, because we know he's really great with people. We've talked to people who were locked up with him, who have told us about how important he was to them and how he really helped them. Yeah, we want him to answer the phone. We want him to go to meetings. We want him to speak at events, to welcome other people that are getting out. We want him to be able to tell us what's working and what's not working from his point of view.
I was blessed, lucky enough to have found a bed at Freedom House, halfway house to where prisoners that have been locked up for decades would transcend from prison to Freedom House.
When I first heard of Mr. Walker's case, I think the Freedom House, this is what house is for. It's a privilege to help Mr. Walker, to house him, to get him situated, to find him employment, to provide the community support, navigate through the parole system, navigate to everyday stuff like going grocery shopping, navigating transportation. Emotionally, we have a very beautiful house. Somebody who spent many years in prison can sit in our backyard and watch the fishes in the pond and smell the flowers. That is something, we are very proud of.
The things he has done over 42 years to stay on the path that he has designed for himself, which is to become a better person, to stay peaceful, to stay out of trouble, to help others, to be a mentor, to gain the respect of everybody around him. He will keep all of the principles that he's evolved, he'll still hold them dear. He'll be dealing with a different world, which is outside of prison, but he will be just as successful in that world. Actually, it was much harder to be successful in prison. To avoid fights all those years in prisons is an amazing accomplishment.
And there's different reasons why I am confident that Shaka will make a successful transition to the outside. One of those reasons is he has such an amazing support system of people that are eager to welcome him home, eager to do whatever they can to have him be successful. And my husband and Dume and I are enthusiastic about being part of that community.
Everybody that's here is 100% ready to support him in every way that we possibly can. We're open to it. But what do we need to do? That's all we need to do.
I'm waiting for my brother. I need him. I want him to see some of my spoiled. I got him spoiled. I'm giving to him and say, here's your grandkids now. And all the nieces and nephews, they're all yours now. They come to me, now they can come to Uncle. So, yeah.
To me, it would mean just being able to continue experiencing educational moments, being able to read some of the books he talks about about, and just having someone who's like a father figure in my life as well, because he's just a great person to just get that advice from. He just always has something smart or something that is purposeful to say to bring to your life.
I know when I see him, it's going to be really emotional. They took something really special from us when he went away, and we can't wait to have that back, honestly, because he's a great role model, like, real talk. He's a great role model. He really is, even from in there.
Updating Marvin Pete Walker's health status. In April of 2022, Marvin was transferred to an outside hospital due to potential stroke symptoms that required a further diagnosis. On May 2, 2022, Marvin underwent a nuclear stress test at an outside hospital, which revealed cardiac damage consistent with having suffered 2 heart attacks in the last 3 months. He's been prescribed daily aspirin and nitroglycerin as needed.
I believe that I will do my best to become a productive member of society because of the people that's going to be looking at me and have put their trust in me all these years.
We love Marvin so much. And we want him to come home.
Indeed we do. We need him to come home.
Missing him, I think, as a family has been more damaging than any of us can put into words, right? Like, my uncle Johnny is here, who's one of his younger brothers. They need that bond. Things happen and he can't physically be here, he can't be a presence. It's that 15-minute phone call that you get. And so having him here means unshackling a part of our family history and trauma so that we can all heal and be better for that.
I imagine going home and being surrounded by family, loved ones, kids running around being kids. I guess the sun beaming bright from the sky.